We're live in Banjul, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. This is RTS News at 2200 hours with me by Ibrahim Cham. And in our top stories this evening, President Adama Barrow visits several project sites, including rice fields and disaster hotspots in the Upper River region, to assess the impact of the recent rains on families and communities as part of his annual leave. Government of the Gambia and UN World Food Programme launches Gambia Agriculture and Food Security Projects set to increase income for 170,000 vulnerable people across the country to boost nutritional status. Plus, ministerial delegates convene to chart a way forward to implement government's white paper on the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission. In sports, Berry-Willing football clinches 3rd Division League Championship in the West Coast region. And away from home, the runner-up in Kenya's presidential election says he will contest the final results, describing the outcome as a travesty. And a fresh controversy for German Prime Minister Olaf Scholz as he distances himself from apartheid comments over Israeli occupation made by Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. Well, details of these and other stories coming ahead in the news. My name is Ibrahim Cham. Many thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here. We begin with the presidency, His Excellency Adama Barrow, who takes time off his leave to visit several project sites, rice fields and disaster hotspots in the Upper River region as he assesses progress of works and the impact of the recent rains on the families and communities. The president was accompanied by Lady Sergeant Barrow. Mohamed Jallo has details of that story.
He may be on leave, but the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, is keeping busy visiting project sites across the Upper River region. The Mankamankunda Health Center is one of a number of health facilities currently under construction, and with nearly 8 months into the project, works are ongoing at a steady pace. The President went on a conducted tour of the project, which is expected to be completed by next month, giving contractors a tight deadline to hand over the facility as agreed. The President then proceeded to Bagadaji, accompanied by Lady Sergeant Barrow and the Governor of the Upper River region, Samba Ba, to inspect rice fields currently under cultivation. Recent events in Eastern Europe has affected food supply chains across the world, and countries are scampering to mitigate its effects on domestic food markets, which have seen a rise in prices. Alhaji Bubu Drame is one of the farmers working to increase rice production to meet domestic needs. Faced with this situation, he believes Gambians must commit to large-scale agricultural production to overcome the soaring prices of food. The President agreed with this assessment, wondering how a continent of more than 1 billion people depends on Ukraine for its food needs. The solution, President Barrow argues, is to revert back to the land.
We have a lot of projects, and those projects are here to support the Gambian people. So I think realistically, if we want to develop this country, we have to prioritize agriculture. I've been saying it so many times. I think I will say it again. Let us prioritize agriculture to develop our country so that we will be food self-sufficient. I think that is very important and that is key.
Things are also looking promising in Sotuma Samba, where this 200-hectare rice field owned by the villagers is under cultivation. According to Musa Jao, the Village Development Committee chairman, over 200 people work on this vast field, supported by the Ministry of Agriculture. It has been 2 years of rice cultivation in this field, and the results, according to him, have been positive, as most villagers are now self-sufficient in rice. He however lamented the poor construction of the dikes, which do not meet standards of providing adequate water to the fields, even during this rainy season. He appealed to the authorities to look into these issues, as they would want to engage in year-round cultivation of rice. The President also visited a 5-hectare rice field belonging to the Infantry Battalion in Basse. Warrant Officer Class 2 Yankuba Koli is the field commander, working with his men and women to cultivate rice. Their exploits have been widely acclaimed by the community, as they have transformed this once barren field into a profitable rice venture. Even the Commander-in-Chief was impressed with these soldiers, heaping praise on the commander and his men and women, and promised to provide them with a tractor and other support. The extraordinary hard work, commitment, and discipline shown by these soldiers, President Barrow added, will inspire other formations within the Gambia Armed Forces to venture into food cultivation to enhance national food security.
We are really proud of you, and we are encouraged by the local community that our soldiers are doing a very, very good job here. And whatever you are doing, you are complementing our efforts. I think we will encourage all Gambians. This will be it will be aired on GRTS so that they will see our men in uniform who are here to secure this country. But not only security alone, but food security for that matter.
The president then drove to the Basse market, which has reopened to business after its reconstruction following a devastating fire. With these structures all complete, work is now focused on making concrete pavements of the roads leading to and outside the market. The president walked through the streets of Basse, stopping at one of the most critical waterways in this provincial town. Its construction and upkeep is seen as indispensable in preventing flooding in Basse. Elsewhere, President Barrow was briefed by the governor on the aftermath of the flash floods that inundated several areas in Basse and Girobakunda. The floods have been attributed to the lack of a functional drainage system that blocked waterways. After careful inspection and discussion with the governor and officials, the president gave directives that there be urgent remedial actions to construct drains to allow free flow of water. President Barrow also assured victims that government will treat the situation with the urgency it deserves, whilst expressing regret with their plight. Next up on his visit was another health center under construction in Tumanna. Like the other one in Mankamankunda, this facility is running on a tight deadline as the president urged contractors to expedite works. This is the first health facility ever constructed in Tumanna, and its completion is seen as a major achievement for the Barrow administration, which has placed much priority on health care.
Now we have even agreed with the World Bank to do the furnishing for us on all the equipments. They have agreed. Now the procurement is on, for them to furnish the entire health facilities that we have constructed. So far we have 5, that is health centers, and we have 20-something other ones, other health facilities also. And World Bank have also approved other 2 major hospitals, one for Basse. We have decided to bring one in Basse. That will be about 200 beds. There will be 2 in number. One will go around West Coast, Wilcam. That's what we are targeting.
The president then took to the new road, setting his sights on Fatoto. But his motorcade was forced to make an unannounced stop in Sudwal, where excited villagers mobbed his car. He then proceeded to the new bridge which connects Kantora and Sandu on the easternmost part of the country. After a brief stop where he greeted elders and walked through the bridge to the other bank, President Barrow expressed satisfaction with its condition, but was concerned about the impact of the rains on the approaches to the bridge itself. After a long drive through Sandu and Wuli, the tour ended at the Samba Juma Bridge in Basse. President Barrow was pleased with the outcome, hailing it as a great opportunity to reconnect with the people of the Upper River region. Momodu Jallo, GRTS News.
Meanwhile, local community leaders have commended President Barrow for his government's intervention in enhancing food security and healthcare in the Upper River region. Our regional correspondent, Seydou Kamara, sounded public opinion on the ground, and he now reports.
This regional field visit took the Gambian leader and delegates to various government project sites to get first-hand information on the progress and condition of intervention areas, starting with a new health facility in Mankamankunda under construction. The president was taken on a conducted tour of the facility, and after the tour, the first family planted trees at the premises of the new health center. The Bagadaji rice field was the president's next destination, where the Gambian leader assessed the impact of the rice value chain transformation project. The chief of Jimara, Kaniman Sane, and Ajay Jagana commended President Barrow for taking time to visit the rice field and urged officials to expand the rice paddy space for more cultivation.
We have a project at Kosemari also, which is on, that is the irrigation rice production, and an order at Sotima Fulbe, that is Sotima Sambakoi, that is also in process. So the combination of all these rice fields together should help a lot for the farmers of Jimara district, to expand the area for cultivation, because we have many rice fields here. And also not only to to cultivate rice, but trees as well, fruit trees, yeah, trees. To cultivate them also would help a lot, and even vegetables as well. All these three sectors should be encouraged.
Peter Balde, a retired agriculturist and the regional rice value chain transformation projects in the region, and Sumana Sisi, respectively, hailed the Gambian leader for his foresight in visiting the rice field to understand their challenges. The Sotoma Samba rice field have a massive potential to galvanize food security with a capacity to feed the entire region.
Government is spending a lot of resources importing rice, so we need to grow our own rice and then to be food security. The importance is farmers here now, they have enough to eat, and they are cultivating about 50 hectares in this area with a yield potential of 5 tons per hectare. Still a major challenge here because the irrigation structures, this field here is developed by the finished ABCDP project, which is the Agricultural Rice Value Chain project. But the irrigation structures are not functioning because there is a problem in the development of those structures, and we cannot get water. We have the pumping house, we have the pumping machine, but we cannot irrigate here because the water does not reach the field.
For here we are again in Sotoma. It's a very good area. We have 40 hectares, but we are only able to cultivate 30 hectares because of land leveling. This site was developed by the ABCD project, but the land development is yet to be improved, and the canals. Here you have 30 hectares cultivated, 4.5 hectares by the soldiers. The 3 infantry battalion in Basse, they own that side there. You have 4.5 hectares, and they also have a farmer field school where they also train each other on rice production techniques. So we are really working with them to see how we can improve the land and go in for rain-fed and dry season production. Access to land that is improved. Because most of these lands that were developed, there is a challenge of leveling. The land is not level. 2, when we want to do plowing on time, the availability of tractors is a challenge. My project supported with power tillers, but on harrow and dry plowing is always a challenge with the power tiller. So we need a tractor to do the plowing and harrowing, then the power tillers will come, soften the land, and then extend the land so that we can increase production and productivity.
The Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Demba Sabali, acknowledged existing challenges facing rice paddy fields and assured farmers of government support to provide solution to the problem at the end of the rainy season.
Of course, there are some challenges on this field. The goal is to have an all year round production. However, there are some technical issues here that has led to only rainy season production. So after this season, our engineers and the project that was responsible for fixing this field will be brought back here. We must get to a level where we do all year round production. That is the only way we can feed our nation. As a country, we normally import about 5 to 6 million bags of rice, which is 70 million US dollars. That means even URR alone, if they cultivate 26,000 hectares and a hectare produce nearly 4 to 5 tons, URR alone is capable of producing over 5 million bags. So the potential for URR alone to produce enough rice for Gambia does exist. So it's a matter of investing and being serious about everybody getting back to the land and encouraging investors for mega farms.
His Excellency Adama Barrow commended the soldiers for their contribution to allied food insecurity in the country and expressed satisfaction with ongoing programs in the Gambia, which he hailed as landmark development achievements for his government. Saidu Kamara, reporting for Jatas News from Basse Upper River region.
Still on the executive, the Vice President, Dr. Badara Diouf, who presided over the launch of 2 major agricultural projects in Kololi. The Gambia Agriculture and Food Security Project and Gambia Inclusive Resilient Agricultural Value Chain Development Project, worth $56 million are both funded by the World Bank and Global Agriculture and Food Security Program. The initiatives, which seek to increase the incomes of 170,000 vulnerable people, including farmers, food processors, and school children, is earmarked to improve food and nutrition security and promote the development of all-inclusive, resilient, and competitive agricultural value chain, focusing on smallholder farmers. Usman Mane reports.
The launching of 2 new projects is a historic development for actors in agriculture. Gambia Agricultural and Food Security Project, GAF-SP, is funded by the Global Agriculture and Food Security Program at a tune of $16 million under the financial supervision of the African Development Bank, while the Gambia Inclusive, Resilient and Agricultural Value Chain Development Project, GIRAF, is sponsored by the World Bank worth $40 million. Both projects will run for 5 years, from 2022 to 2027, promoting the development of inclusive, resilient, and competitive agricultural value chain, focusing on smallholder farmers and agribusiness in rice, maize, horticulture, cashew, and poultry, as well as improving school feeding programs. The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, C.D. Keita, assured government's commitment to effective fiscal policies for economic stability.
It is important to note that both interventions are grant facilities, and the government is very appreciative. And the contribution of the government will be mainly in the form of tax exemptions in the implementation of the projects. The significance of these projects in their distinct potential to transform the country's macroeconomic landscape will cover the following 5 areas. It will target 250,000 households, improve the production and productivity of the key commodities of rice, maize, and leading to considerable savings in the valuable foreign currency, improve the quantity and quality of poultry and vegetables, and stimulate the private sector through the provision of matching grants to 610 businesses, and also the provision of school meals to 131,000 children.
The Agriculture Minister and World Food Program Representative and Country Director, Dr. Demba Sabali and Yasuhiro Sumura, respectively, underscored the importance of the project's objectives, saying it will reduce vulnerability among the population.
The Giraffe project, which is a $40 million grant from the World Bank, will scale up achievement from its predecessor project, GCAF, while building synergies with other partners geared towards increasing climate change resilience and inclusive value chain development. The approach will be based on strengthening the capacity of key organizations and improving value chain coordination and partnership.
The project will contribute to a sustainable and comprehensive food and nutrition security in the Gambia through the 2 intertwined components. The first component is to improve livelihood, productivity, and climate resilience. And the second component is to reduce vulnerability while promoting social safety net through homegrown school feeding, procuring locally produced food commodities in the Gambia, and benefiting local productions, mainly smallholder farmers.
In his keynote address, the Vice President, Dr. Badaraju, highlighted various challenges facing the agriculture sector. Key among them is COVID-19 and the instability caused by Russia-Ukraine crisis, which has affected global food systems. He said the project's outcomes will build an inclusive climate-resilient community in adapting to climate change.
Knowing fully well that women are at the heart of production, processing, and marketing of rice and vegetable in the Gambia, my government welcomes these kinds of projects that will ensure that they have the requisite capacities and resources to improve these lives and livelihoods of the Gambian people. I therefore challenge and encourage our hard-working and vibrant women and youth farmers, and of course our homegrown private sector, to take full advantage of the opportunities offered by these 2 projects as a vehicle for improving their livelihood.
He further thanked development partners while assuring government's readiness to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, as well as Agenda 2063 of the African continent. Usman Mane, GRTS.
Introducing long-term strategies to reduce carbon emission. The Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources today organized a day-long seminar on the initiative of Effective Adaptation and Resilience, acronymed LIFE-AR. The objective is to strengthen national efforts to act on the long-term Paris Agreement in cutting greenhouse gas emissions. Ibrahim Jallo covered the session held at a local hotel in Bakau, and he now reports.
Focused on climate change, stakeholders met to discuss long-term strategies designed to achieve low carbon emission in line with the Paris Agreement on climate change. Officials saw the need to launch an inclusive and realistic response to climate change, citing resilience and adaptation.
This is an initiative that is coined mainly to enhance the LDC's delivery of climate response all over the world. It has come about because there have been numerous problems in terms of climate change response all over.
Gambia is responsible for 0.01% of greenhouse gas emissions in the world. I mean, that's a fact. But because of the nature of the Gambia, we are affected by effects of climate change. So it's ironic that even though we don't contribute to climate change, but we are one of the most affected countries from the effects of climate change.
Access to finance is said to be a crucial component in the implementation of these climate response strategies. Julde Cisse is the Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. She welcomed the initiative for effective and timely climate action in the Gambia.
This is a step in the right direction. Given the country's increasing ability to climate change, the Ministry has successfully advocated for the integration of climate change into the country's policy and strategies in order to better support the needs and priorities of the vulnerable communities in the country. This new plan will form a component of the upcoming long-term National Development Framework, Vision 2015, whose time frame is aligned with and takes into account of the long-term strategy.
The Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, Aliou Ndiaye, said the climate change session is essential in the implementation of the country's long-term climate change mitigation strategies. He said the Gambia is committed to global efforts in tackling climate change.
National determined contribution, NDC, and wider national efforts to build resilience and address poverty by 2050, which we are all advocating. LIFE-AR is meant to overcome the present and unprecedented challenges of climate change faced by LDCs.
Low-income countries are said to be highly vulnerable to economic and environmental shocks due to climate change. The vision, therefore, is to have zero emission by 2050. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
Advancing humanitarian efforts, the Gambia Red Cross Society continues to disperse funds in the form of cash transfers to flood victims after the heavy downpours that battered the country earlier this month. Ibrahim Abba witnessed the cash transfers within the KMC, and this is his report.
This latest humanitarian gesture from the Gambia Red Cross Society is earmarked for victims of floods who are internally displaced and struggling to make ends meet. Speaking to GRTS at one of the distribution centers in Bundung, the Director of Programs and Operations at the Gambia Red Cross Society, Abdullah Fai, said as a humanitarian organization, the Red Cross Society is collaborating with the International Red Cross Federation to mobilize resources for relief efforts.
One of the key response in our emergency plan of action is to support affected households with cash. And that is what we are doing today. And over 2,000 households are affected. But currently, we are able to support 606 households on different categories based on the destructions, but also based on the vulnerability score that we do within our systems to able to select the beneficiaries.
Outlining the Red Cross Society's move to expand emergency support in different communities across the country, Mr. Faye argued that it is the collective responsibility of all people to assist disaster victims.
This is the intervention that we are doing, and we are targeting 4 regions for now, which is North Bank region, Banjul, Kanefi municipality, and West Coast region. So for North Bank, we'll be supporting 2 households because of the vulnerability score, and the amount of households that are destroyed there is less than compared to the others. And Banjul will be supporting 102 households, and KM 74 households. Then West Coast 428 households will be supported. So as we continue to raise more resources, we will look at the vulnerability score list and then enroll more households to able to benefit through the Red Cross support.
A local beneficiary, Ida Jase, thanked the donors for the timely gesture, noting that it will reduce the current hardship they are facing.
If you are helped by a person, you cannot tell them anything except to thank them. We are also praying for your continued efforts and praying to God for the good work you are doing to continue.
Amid the prediction of more rains this year, humanitarian organizations such as the Red Cross Society have been busy rolling out support initiatives tackling both health and food needs of flood victims with contingency plans designed to ensure effective disaster risk reduction strategies. Ibrahim Abba, GRTS News.
And to truth, reconciliation and reparation matters now, because civil society organizations today converged for a day-long forum on the government's implementation of the white paper on the recommendations made by the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission barely 4 months after the government released the white paper outlining its position on some of the recommendations made by the Truth Commission. Babasila reports.
Table discussion center on ministerial intervention concerning their roles in the implementation of the government TRRC white paper and approaches for effective coordination. The crucial roundtable seeks to effectively allay discontent in the victim community of the exiled former President Yahya Jammeh, who ruled the Gambia with an iron fist for 2 decades amid enforced disappearances, state-sanctioned repression, and extrajudicial killings. Since the release of the TRRC report and subsequent release of the white paper, the Attorney General Office has been busy reviewing guidelines to implement the government's recommendations. The Solicitor General and Legal Clerk at the Ministry of Justice, Hussein Tomasi, renewed the government's commitment to the full implementation of the Truth Commission's report.
In addition to monetary compensation, extend to other aspects such as physical rehabilitation, restoration of civil and political rights, and the provision of education and healthcare for victims. As you rightly know, government has previously made available $50 million to the TRRC for the payment of interim monetary compensation to victims and has earmarked about $150 million in this year budget for reparations.
However, despite assurances made by the government to ensure justice and closure for Jammeh's victims, many remain pessimistic about the report's execution as a national priority, with government facing other pressing state matters.
The government is trying to survive. Now, the TRRC report, is it a priority right now? I'll assume it's a no. The reason why I said we can go to task is we don't have the resources. We don't have the financial capabilities. Our economy cannot handle TRRC, basically. The implementation of the report right now, I don't think we can do it right now as it per se. In fact, even the Minister of Justice, when he went to the Parliament, for example, he said the implementation, and I quote, the implementers might not be able to be done this year. Now, virtually, that's impossible for us to do it this year. That has been concluded. Now, the financial muscle, right? Now, the financial muscle, we're talking about $150 million. $150 million, is it enough for reparations?
Sheriff Gijera, the chairman of the Victim Center and prominent human rights lawyer and executive director of the Institute for Human Rights and Development in Africa, GESO, asked for recommendation on the Commission's report that chart a way to ensure justice for victims and their families.
Coming over the white paper is something else, but the implementation is the key to all this process. So we expect that we will further consolidate the collaborative mechanisms that are already in place between the Victims-Led Association and the Ministry of Justice. Recently, we have a meeting with the Minister himself. We, the Victim Center, are working with the Ministry of Justice on an MOU. We are going to establish an MOU. That is going to set the rules of our engagement. The government is yet to give any information as to what they are doing with those remains. And also the solo standing remains also need to be, given back to the family for a befitting burial. And also the remaining, the enforced disappeared, we need to know their whereabouts, the fate of the victims. The victims need closure in that aspect. And security sector reform has been quite sluggish. We need to see more commitment, more effort, a more methodical approach towards that reform agenda.
If you look at the TRRC report, particularly the recommendations, you would see it is quite heavy on prosecutions, as in the TRRC recommending that certain people, majority of them listed in the report, should be brought to justice, accountability, to end impunity, making sure they're prosecuted. Of course, that's laudable, but not easy, in the sense there is a lot we have to do, a lot we need to take care of first before we can even talk about arresting anybody for prosecutions. In the first place, there is the problem of Section 24 of our Constitution, the principle of legality, as in saying you cannot create a criminal law statute, as in come up with an offense and, of course, having it backdated. The Gambia did not have a law criminalizing torture. We still don't have a law criminalizing torture. And if you also look at the TRRC report, enforced disappearances is talked about a lot. So if we didn't have a law criminalizing torture, we still don't have a law criminalizing torture or enforced disappearances. What's the way out? I think that is something we really, really need to sort out.
Since former President Yahya Jammeh exiled in 2017, there have been renewed calls for his deportation and prosecution for crimes committed during his 2 decades in power, amid the perceived hurdle in the willingness of his host country to secure his return to face justice. Bawa Sila, GRTS.
Officials of Food Safety and Quality Authority on Wednesday had a sensitization forum with the fisher folks in the Greater Banjul area on the dangers of using harmful chemicals like the sniper insecticide, allegedly used on fish and fish products. Kajetu Jallo has more.
Following the confirmation of the use of sniper insecticide by fishing community in processing fish has informed the ban on the use of sniper insecticide. Food Safety and Quality Authority official Yankuba Fati explains.
Samples were collected from various places, which include Tanje and other landing sites, and include the market also. When these samples were collected, they were sent to the lab for analysis. And when the analysis was done, it was found out that it was confirmed that yes, this insecticide is definitely been used on this smoked fish. So that's why it is necessary now. The office asks us to go back to them, meet these smokers, sensitize them on good hygienic and manufacturing practices, and to caution them to avoid the use of these sniper products on these smoked fish, as it is very detrimental to our health and it can harm us.
Addressing the gathering, Food Safety Quality Authority officials highlighted the health hazards associated in the consumption of dry or smoked fish processed with sniper insecticide, urging them to desist from the unhealthy act, citing consequences to the act. Mr. Fati again.
As a food business operator, anything that you put into the market, you should make sure that it is safe and fit for consumption, and that it should not be harmful to anyone. So they should take up responsibility and avoid the use of this insecticide on these products.
And what are some of the reactions as you met them?
Yes, the reactions have been very positive. They have given us their assurance that, though most of them claim that, they have not been using this sniper on their products, but better still, they said that they will be on the lookout. They would make sure that no one uses it here, and anytime they see something, they will report to the office. And we told them that we have a toll-free line, which is 1299. Anytime they see something that is not in line with food safety requirements, they can always call the office and we will respond to them. There is a penalty, that is a fine of about 200,000. That is the fine, or 3 years imprisonment.
Actors in the fish value chain and fisheries official at Tanje landing site spoke on the need for quality fish and fish products. Sidia Drame renewed their commitment to support Food Safety and Quality Authority to report anyone found wanting, whilst urging those using sniper insecticides to desist from the act. The sensitization forum, according to officials, will be replicated in other fish landing sites across the country. Khadijatu Jallo reporting for GRTS News.
Away from that, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education is undergoing a 4-day school holiday camp for lower and upper basic school students for Region 3 and 4. The UNICEF-supported convergence held in Mansakonko was meant to improve the academic standards of participants and provide career guidance to enable them to contribute to national development. Our LRR correspondent Usman Balde reports.
The holiday camp was held on the theme promoting children's to 21st century skills development and participation in the Sustainable Development Goals. In a statement, the Regional Education Directors for Lower River Region and North Bank Region, Mamadou Chalo and Lamin FM Chaite, both described the forum as important for the education sector and urged the participants to make best use of the opportunity.
I'm asking people to learn skills. There is a wind blowing, the wind of change, and the direction is skill development, acquisition of skills. We have been long depending on other people for our development as far as skill is concerned. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and its partners, like UNICEF, is very much conscious and alive to such. As such, we are trying to develop skill.
Learning does not only take place at the four corners of the classroom. Therefore, outreach programs of this kind are very important to the growth and development of our children. It prepares the mindset of children to learn new knowledge, skills, and attitudes, and to be able to accommodate others from different socio-cultural backgrounds.
The education specialist at UNICEF, Nuha Jata, is hopeful that the issues discussed at the camp will enable participants to contribute meaningfully to the development of the various communities and schools in different ways, and advise students to stay away from all forms of bad practices during the camp.
In a camp like this, one of the things that UNICEF as an organization is very concerned is your safety and your protection. And as the general saying goes, your safety is your responsibility, not anybody else's. So you have to know what to do, when to do it, where to do it, where to go, when to go. All right? So pay attention to those things. If you are not sure, there is an adult figure with you in your group from your school, go back to them. If you are not sure what to do, go back to the teacher who came with you. They will guide you and make sure you do the right thing. Because we are in the rainy season, there are a lot of grasses around, especially during the night, there could be a lot of reptiles crawling around. So pay attention to that. Okay? And then, don't do anything we don't want.
The governor of Lower River Region, Sidi Lamin Pa, described sharing knowledge and ideas as vital in national development and call on students to kindly focus during the camp.
The Gambia government has also placed high premium in terms of education in this country, which you are very much aware of. So it may also enable them to relax after an intensive academic work that they've gone through during the academic year 2021-2022. By the end of this camp, we hope that you will learn from each other ideas from your schools, from your societies, and from your own individual families. But you also need to entertain each other and build new friendships and networks.
According to officials of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, the holiday camp manifested all inclusiveness in the education system. Usman Balde, GRTS News.
Well, that draws the curtains for this edition of GRTS News. Well, a quick recap of our top stories before we take leave of you. President Adama Barrow has visited several project sites, including rice fields and disaster hotspots in the Upper River region, to assess the impact of the recent rains on families and communities as part of his annual leave. Government of the Gambia and UN World Food Programme have launched the Gambia Agriculture and Food Security Project, set to increase income for 170,000 vulnerable people across the country to boost nutritional status. Reducing National Carbon Footprints Ministry of the Environment have joined stakeholders to devise a sustainable initiative for effective climate adaptation and resilience. Plus, ministerial delegates has been convened to chart a way forward to implement government's white paper on the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission. In sports, Birkama Berewilling Football has clinched 3rd Division League Championship in the West Coast region. Away from home, the runner-up in Kenya's presidential election has said that he will contest the final results, describing the outcome as a travesty. And a fresh controversy for German Prime Minister Olaf Scholz as he distanced himself from apartheid comments over Israel occupation made by the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. Well, that's all we had in this edition of GRTS News. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and have a wonderful evening.